Oh, come on. That's why I didn't want to go back to my hometown for a visit, exclaimed my sister Sophia, slamming her hand on the table and standing up abruptly. I had never seen her so fiercely angry, her face so stern. It was almost scary enough to appear in a dream. This was a turning point in my life, a Christmas story I'll never forget. My name is Emma. Just the other day, my daughter Olivia asked me, "Mom, why are you so polite to telemarketers? It's just sales and they can't even see you." I'm 50 years old and found myself explaining to her, "Well, it's sales or not. It's important not to forget gratitude and consideration. That's the heart of being American." She replied with a, leaving me feeling a bit down. You'll understand once you're working in society. Today, I want to share a story from 15 years ago. Please listen to this. Back then, I was a go-getter working in a multinational company in the city. However, my life took a drastic turn with one phone call. My mom, Isabella, living in Atlanta, had broken her knee and was hospitalized. She raised my sister Sophia and me as a single mother. Now, both of us sisters were living in the city, and no one else was at our childhood home. Someone had to go back to Atlanta with Mom in the hospital. My sister, running her own law firm, was swamped with work she couldn't set aside. I, too, was in a position to call myself a career woman, handling important tasks. But I was more replaceable. So I decided to take on the responsibility, took a leave of absence, and returned to Atlanta. Just before I was set to leave for Atlanta, after deciding to take a leave of absence, my boss at the company said, "If you're going on a leave, you'll have to step down from your position and transfer to a different department when you return." The new department was unrelated to my main duties. It was as if they were saying they didn't need someone who took a break. Being single at the time, I had already felt the pressure of, she'll just get married and suddenly leave for pregnancy and childbirth. Although societal understanding of women's roles at work has improved now, back then, despite what companies professed, many believed women are likely to take breaks, so we don't want them in positions of responsibility. Of course, there were a few who understood, but they were rare. Honestly, I had been envied for holding a higher position than some male colleagues. This demotion could easily be imagined as someone complaining, "We can't have someone who takes a leave in a higher position. They're unreliable and supporting them when they return is too much trouble." If only I had a clear idea of how long my leave of absence would be. Mom's recovery and rehabilitation were uncertain, and she would likely need support after being discharged. Moreover, Mom couldn't drive, so getting to the hospital and shopping required someone's help. It was clear that my leave could extend indefinitely, though obviously it wouldn't be short. Unable to set a specific duration for my leave and knowing I wouldn't return to my current position, it was evident I'd lose my place at work. So I decided to resign. I would vacate my apartment and fully commit to supporting Mom. It's all good as long as it helps Mom recover, I thought. Filled with resolve, I returned to my hometown to support Mom. However, my first visit to the hospital made me somewhat regret my decision. The first words out of my mom's mouth were, "You hardly ever visit, and now you show up because of this," Mom said to me. True, work had often prevented me from visiting home. Since my 30s and after several promotions, my visits had become infrequent, only a few times over the years. But still, I didn't expect such words from Mom after quitting my job to take care of her. I guessed she was stressed from the injury and the unfamiliar hospital environment, so I let it go. But every visit brought more of these petty remarks. Once Mom was discharged, the minor jibes turned into outright verbal abuse. Mom, now dependent on a cane and struggling in our non-barrier-free house, required my assistance for nearly everything. The bathroom, bathing, even moving around. One time, while I was in the bathroom, I heard her calling. I rushed out only to be greeted with, "You're so slow, you slacker," as she threw a remote control at me. She just wanted coffee, it turned out. Honestly, I thought, all this anger over just that? But at that moment, I was there to assist Mom, who couldn't move freely and was probably suffering the most. I resolved to endure quietly and support her. However, Mom seemed to trample on my consideration, as if crushing it underfoot and then jumping on it for good measure. She would frequently get angry over trivial things and throw whatever was close: remote controls, phones, hard objects. I felt like my reflexes had improved more than when I used to play dodgeball with friends as a child. I even joked to myself that I could probably dodge an arrow shot by William Tell now. The reasons for her anger were very unreasonable. "You're too slow. Your hands are too rough when assisting. You made a displeased face for a moment." Honestly, I wasn't doing any of that. I'm very careful when assisting Mom, as being too gentle means I can't support her properly due to her advanced age. To avoid being told I'm slow, I've started holding off on using the bathroom and now rush through my showers. The only thing I'm not sure about is whether I've made a displeased face. Given the stress of this lifestyle, it wouldn't be surprising if I had, but I try to maintain a smile, even when I'm sure I'm smiling. Mom has accused me of looking unhappy, so I think her criticisms are mostly imagined. Mom's verbal abuse eventually extended beyond my assistance. "You'll never get a job again, being such a slacker," she would say. "How long do you plan to stay in this house? Why did you quit your job? If you were working, we could have renovated the house to make it more comfortable for me." I hear these rants almost daily. To be honest, my sense of duty to Mom, who raised me, has significantly diminished. I didn't want to quit my job willingly. I tried to take a leave of absence, but it wasn't approved. I didn't want to resign. I still had so much I wanted to do. But for the sake of Mom, who single-handedly raised me as a woman, it seemed better to take ample time off if possible. That's how I convinced myself. Thinking back, my sister Sophia hasn't visited home much either. She hasn't even come to see Mom this time. Yet, here I am, having quit my job to return, and I'm the one being criticized. Mom always favored Sophia, who became a lawyer, especially considering Mom had always been criticized by relatives, saying, "How can she raise a child properly on her own?" Dad left Mom for another woman while she was pregnant with me. Their marriage wasn't well received by our family, and when they divorced, our grandmother berated Mom hysterically, saying, "I told you so." Furthermore, she forced Mom into an arranged marriage with a much older man, insisting, "You should remarry while you're still young. It's impossible to live alone." Mom, infuriated, refused, leading our grandmother and other relatives to try to prevent her from staying single. Eventually, Mom and our grandmother became estranged. Mom was determined to make us perfect daughters. If things didn't go her way, she'd scold us, a pattern since our childhood. Even if I scored perfectly on a test, she wouldn't praise me, but she would get angry if I did poorly. I often felt rebellious, thinking, did Mom score so high in her youth? My sister, however, was the model student Mom wanted. She became a lawyer, and as soon as she did, Mom contacted our estranged grandmother and relatives to brag about her. Of course, this led to resentment from our relatives. While I wasn't a poor student and had good grades, landing a decent job, Mom always compared me unfavorably to Sophia, treating me as an inferior because being a lawyer was more prestigious. Even though my sister Sophia was treated better and more kindly than me, without the throwing of objects or verbal abuse, it seemed like Mom had become accustomed to being catered to in every way by the nurses in the hospital. This created an expectation in her mind that everyone should be at her beck and call. Once, after hearing from an acquaintance that people can become mentally unwell after hospitalization, like Mom, I tried to take her to a psychiatrist. But of course, she resisted fiercely. Despite my persistence, the doctors found no issues. Really? There must be some diagnosis, right? I thought, but it turned out Mom's behavior wasn't due to any illness, just sheer stubbornness. It reached a point where I couldn't handle it anymore. "See, I told you I wasn't sick, accusing me of being ill." Mom's verbal abuse got even worse around the time I resigned and faced my first Christmas since leaving my job. This year, my sister joined us. "I'm coming home because I'm worried about the situation there," she said, and for the first time in a while, the three of us gathered. Naturally, there was no cheerful atmosphere during our lavish family dinner. Instead of a joyous family dinner, I ended up being treated like a servant, with Sophia as the guest of honor. The Christmas mood was completely absent, and I was busier than usual. "Emma, serve Sophia and me some wine," Mom commanded. "But Mom, you shouldn't drink with your injury. What if you fall?" I protested. "How dare you talk back to me? Have you no kindness towards your injured mother?" "That's not what I meant." "You're just leeching off of this house without working," she yelled. To call me a leech? I was shocked. "Enough! I don't need a useless child in my house. I thought I could finally be proud of you, but now you're unemployed. Get out!" With that, she threw the steak from the dinner table at me. That's when I truly understood the depth of Mom's words. I had thought her pettiness and loneliness were the reasons for her behavior, but it was more than that. No matter how much I cared for her, Mom was cold because I didn't live up to her ideal. She wanted Sophia and me to remain as elite, dynamic professionals working in the city. What could I have done? Leave an injured mom uncared for by both daughters? Commute long distances to support Mom? Stay desperately in my job even knowing there'd be no place for me after returning? Was all this really necessary in my own life? A sense of relief washed over me, releasing all the tension I had held inside. Enough of this. "All right then, goodbye forever," I exclaimed, glaring at Mom. At that moment, "This is exactly why I didn't want to come home for a visit." Sophia slammed the table and stood up forcefully. Said, "What?" Mom was dumbfounded. Sophia was always the calmest and most gentle person in our family, never seen in anger. It was hard to believe she was the one speaking, but her face showed she was barely holding back even more fury. That expression, it was indeed Sophia's words. "You've been silently watching this whole time. What's going on? Making Emma do all the chores because Mom's leg is bad is one thing, but telling her to do the laundry, go shopping, and even remake your coffee because it's lukewarm? Emma hardly has any time to eat. I notice she's much thinner than before. Plus, calling her a leech and a failure? Don't you realize she quit her job she loved to come back and take care of you?" Sophia let out all her complaints in one breath, struggling to catch it. "Sophia, you're wrong. This girl took me to a psychiatrist suspecting me. She's a bad daughter." Mom defended herself. "It's normal to think there might be a mental issue when you're yelled at for such irrational things every day. If you're upset, Mom, at least be reasonable with your demands. You're imposing your ideals too much on Emma." Sophia retorted, "But I think quitting her job was unnecessary." Mom hesitated. "Could you have managed alone, Mom? Even now, you hardly move by yourself." "Well, no." "Your leg is almost healed, isn't it?" "What?" I was shocked by Sophia's revelation and Mom turned pale. "I saw you walking a few steps without your cane when it rolled away earlier. You hurriedly screamed for Emma to fetch it for you." Sophia continued. "That's not true." "I didn't notice." Mom protested. I was too stunned to react. "Seriously?" was all I could think. I hadn't realized it all. Such a shock. I felt like demanding my wasted months back from Mom. Knowing her leg was actually healed, my view of Mom shifted from someone to be cared for to someone despicable. "Why are you so cold to Mom? Sophia was always a good daughter, my pride and joy," Mom accused. "That's because you started demanding money as soon as I became a lawyer, Mom. Any kindness disappeared." Sophia replied, "What?" I was again surprised by Sophia's words. Mom was practically white by now. "So, Emma wasn't affected. Mom has been asking me for money ever since I became a lawyer, since it's hard to live alone," Sophia revealed. "Is that why you rarely come home?" I asked. "Partly. I just didn't like Mom anymore. Found her bothersome," Sophia answered without hesitation. "What? Sophia, how could you say you hate me?" Mom cried. "Huh? Who's worse here? You only love my money," Sophia shot back. "No, that's not true," Mom weakly protested. "What's different? I know, Mom. You've been asking me for money because you're spending it at the casino. That's also why you got injured," Sophia accused. What? Sophia? What do you mean? I was struggling to keep up with the revelations. When Mom was first hospitalized, I was the one who got the call, right? Sophia asked. Yes. They said Mom fell at the casino and hurt her knee. What? Let me make it clearer. The money you took from me was spent at the casino, and that's why you couldn't afford your living expenses. Your injury was also at the casino. Mom's a full-blown gambling addict. Wow. Mom shrank under our uncomfortable stares. It seemed to be the truth. The last time I spoke with Mom, I told her I wouldn't give her any more money. So she probably hoped to rely on you, Emma. But when you quit your job, her plan fell through, Sophia said. That wasn't my intention. Mom's eyes slowly filled with tears at her words. So basically, Mom wanted me to stay the daughter who works at a good company and provides her money, someone she wouldn't be embarrassed about in front of her relatives. When I quit, she thought she didn't need such a daughter anymore, I retorted, glaring at Mom, who averted her eyes, looking uncomfortable. So, after Sophia refused, you turned to me. Aren't you underestimating your daughters too much? I continued. Be quiet. I raised you too well, so what's wrong with a little gambling in my later years? Mom snapped back. A little is fine, but gambling to the point of borrowing money from others is not. We turned out fine, but you're just getting worse. Sophia laughed at my words. Really unpleasant children, both of you, since always, Mom exclaimed. Maybe we take after you, Mom? Or maybe we should be nice daughters even after being treated like idiots. We're not that optimistic, I replied. That's true. Sophia nodded in agreement. You should be thankful that such sensible daughters came from you, Mom. I've had enough. I disown you, Mom shouted. Really? I'm so happy, I exclaimed, reaching for a high five with Sophia. This is a great offer. I won't have to support Mom and get scolded, and I can look for a job. And if you're in trouble, don't involve us anymore, I said. What? Mom panicked at my words. What's that reaction? You're the one who said disown. If you're in trouble, don't disown people, I pointed out. But we're family. We should support each other, Mom tried to argue. But if we're disowned, the family bond is broken, right? You said disown, Mom. And about supporting each other, it's been only us doing the supporting, I replied. Fine, I was wrong. I take it back. I can't be in this house alone. Sophia, you'll stay, right? Mom pleaded. No, I won't, Sophia firmly rejected. When poverty comes through the door, love flies out the window. I don't want to lend money to Mom anymore, and I am disowning her. Too much trouble dealing with a gambling addict. True to your elite lawyer reputation, you've seen a lot, I said. Maybe it's an occupational hazard. Sophia laughed at my comment. Our unexpected reunion turned out to be quite dramatic, but our sisterly bond seemed as strong as ever. You don't have a house if you leave here, right? You want to leave today, don't you? I can't just contract a house immediately. Maybe I'll go to a hotel. Come to my place, Sophia offered. Really? Are you sure, Sophia? Are there sisters who hate living together? Well, probably. Which is it? But I don't. It'll be fun. Let's enjoy our single lives together. We continued chatting and laughing when Mom, trembling, approached us. Please don't take what I said seriously. Can't you reconsider? Mom begged with teary eyes, but with one word, we both responded. No. It was probably the first and last time my sister and I spoke with such unified strength. After that, I immediately left home and stayed with my sister, parasitically, until I found a job. My sister said, I probably made you suffer a lot at home. I'm sorry for leaving everything to you. She didn't even ask for rent. Feeling a bit guilty, I took care of household chores. I didn't want to become a parasite Mom accused me of being. After a modest life with my sister for a while, I found a job and started living independently again. It felt like regaining my normal life. As for Mom, she sent several letters begging for support, but neither my sister nor I responded. We both had reasons enough to give up on her. It was Mom's fault. Turns out, Mom's leg was fine, and she even took a part-time job. but was quickly fired due to poor work attitude. She kept going to the casino during breaks, returning late, and eventually got dismissed. After repeating similar patterns at her next jobs, struggling with age and her inability to quit gambling, she led a life of poverty. I guess she thought casinos wouldn't betray her like her daughters did. But that's no longer my concern. 15 years have passed. Mom has finally stopped gambling, more out of lack of funds than choice, and ended up in debt. Some intimidating men claiming we were responsible for her debts surrounded us, but thanks to my lawyer sister, we were safe. Without her, I probably would have paid them, having little knowledge of such matters. I'm really grateful. We're still estranged from Mom, and I doubt that will ever change, nor do I want it to. My sister, foreseeing the worst, is prepared to take legal action and maintain minimal contact as a daughter. She got married to a fellow lawyer. They argue often about work, but it seems like a debate to them, and they enjoy it. Elite couple problems. As for me, I married a man from an advertising agency I met through my IT job. We don't earn much. I probably earned more in my previous job, but we have regular time off to spend with our daughter and each other. We enjoy cooking together, going on dates, and I cherish these moments. Happy with less money? Absolutely. Money is necessary, but not the sole source of happiness. If it were Mom, with her debts but free spending, would be happy by now. What's truly important isn't money, education, or career. I learned this through my relationship with my parents. What matters is having relationships where hearts connect. Surrounded by people you can't be yourself with, even with money, is miserable. I may not live in a high-rise eating caviar and truffles every day, but I have a teenager who tries cooking with me, a husband who praises me for just cutting my hair, and colleagues I trust and confide in. I'm as happy as can be.